You weren't being hard to me. You're being hard to yourself. I want you to be much gentler.
Oh,
Look, you be
I do look.
after you get yourself.
If I don't kick that B is something else. I mean, I know what it takes to get her to where she needs to be. A good, swift kick in the butt. I mean,
What would you suggest that we would have to do to get you to change that concept that you have? That it takes that to get the desired result.
just the conversation. You know, sometimes it's the words that you say. Like sometimes you've said something and I'll say, and maybe I'll throw something so
I've experienced that.
And I'll say, oh, okay. Okay. So it just takes that conversation. But it's got to, you know, it's got to really have that substance to get through to that. That's all it takes. She really is a sweetheart.
For real. She just won't embrace it totally.
She does at the right time.
It's always the right time.
She does at the right time.
That's why I say it's always the right time.
She's always sweet.
Granted, I'll give you that.
You know, sometimes, you know, a nail pops up here that needs to be hammered down. It's like anything else. Sometimes you just don't want to, you know. You just.
She always wants to.
No, not always.
That's you.
Yeah.
I'm talking about her. She always wants to. That's why you're here.
You're right.
Oh, I love it when you agree with yourself.
Yeah, I know. I don't have a problem with agreeing with myself. And I know when I don't agree simply because I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes I enjoy being.
A lot.
Yeah.
I guess that feels good. That's sort of like having sex, though.
And that, going back to where we started, that's understanding the male energy. Because I know what it takes to totally satisfy this. When we got to go over here and go through the lessons or the anticipation of that over there.
Wow. That's amazing. Now that is an opening.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's messing with my physical vision. I said, whew, that is good.
So now I can go get my cigarette.
Absolutely.
You may want to puff on a piece of it yourself.
I don't think so. I'm too far over the hill. So that smoke would not even touch me.
Oh, that's awesome. I use it to.
Good afternoon, I see. I don't take business recorded calls.
Okay. So, and thank you for this conversation.
Oh, it's
today.
been beautiful. Thank you.
I've certainly enjoyed it.
You've put in, your input is immeasurable. Fantastic and off the scale. Ooh, so good, so right. You've taken me not just to the past, but through the past, back around to the future, and I never left the present moment. I mean, you were good today. Woo! Go ahead, sister.
Make sure you mention that now.
Yes.
So I need to study Kemet a little bit more.
You know Kemet backwards and forwards.
Or you're saying I should let it go?
I'm putting that in front of you to look at. You do what you like to do with it. But since you know it so well, it's time for you to embrace what's happening now.
So what is the next thing up?
What I asked you about the lineages.
Oh, to study the lineages.
I mean, just not so much to study them, but just to recognize, as you already do, there are two different stories. But how did those two stories become one? Because there was clearly, if you're going to go with either story from start to finish, there was one at the end and there were two in the beginning. And
so that's the duality to me, is coming together as one.
It is, but we don't recognize, we see the duality and live it every day, but we don't seem to recognize it, because then when it shows up in the stories, and I ask people to explain it, they don't have an explanation. They say, I've heard some of the most preposterous things. I mean, these are Bible-toting Christians tell me, without taking a breath, it's a mistake. I said, how could it be a mistake? There can't be a mistake in a book that you believe in.
Right.
I said, but never mind that. And then they tell me, well, it was her lineage. And I said, if it's her lineage, how come Joseph's name is at the end of both of them? I said, that doesn't make any sense, not even to you. And I said, now I want to ask a question. Why are you giving me these answers that don't make sense to you, but you need me to check you to look back at what you said out of yourself? And I just asked you a simple question. And I said, if you don't see how they connect, you can share that with me instead of making this stuff up, because the stuff you're making up doesn't come from the story that I asked you to read. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if I accept that you said it's a story from somebody else, then I said, then stick to the story that they told you and tell me what they're talking about according to your understanding. And I know that you can't come up with anything because it's two definitely different things.
It's two different people.
Yes, has to be. In two different times and two different places.
See, that has always been my question, because the information that I have was that it was told, the stories are told by people who write it down. So if we have two different people writing these two different stories, who are they talking about?
They're talking about the person that they know the story about, the truth about, because they both started off with, this is who I am, this is what I experienced. They didn't say they made it up. They didn't say they heard it someplace. They said, this is my experience. So it's the truth. That's what they wrote down. They didn't add anything. They didn't take nothing away.
But they didn't, where is it stated that they actually wrote it? Because my understanding was it was oral until that point in time where somebody wrote down the story.
Well, the oral part of what the person that wrote down is orally saying what they heard, because they don't know the story.
Right.
So they could only write down what they heard. Mm-hmm. Unless you want to put in that they wrote down something else, but that doesn't make a lot of sense. Why make a story like that? If you heard this story, why are you going to make another one up?
And then when you go around the country, around the world, you still have the difference in the stories in South America, in Europe, in China. You still have the different stories.
So what do they have in common?
That's what I have not studied. As to what they have in common, other than they are saying Jesus.
Well, they are written for the same purpose, to bring us to understanding. If we could come out of our listening mode and hear what's being said.
Instead of picking it apart.
Right.
Okay. Because, and I do that.
Well, that's what the age that we live in does that. That's what we've become good at. We're very good at analysis, but when we take that Swiss watch apart, we can't put it back together again. Mm. That watch will never work again.
So, some people can put it back together, but they couldn't tell you how it worked.
Right. and it won't work as good as it was before they took it apart.
Right.
So,
But that's when it needs to go to the repair person all the time.
well, you can't repair the story because the story is going to stay the same. No matter what we do to it, the story will remain the same. Because the story is, from what I'm presenting to you, true. So no matter what you do to it, the truth is still going to be there.
Okay, so I need to read Matthew and what was the other one?
Luke.
Luke, Matthew and Luke.
Especially
almost simultaneously.
Well, you can read them separately and then compare. Because you can put them right beside one another and see that the names change after David. There's not a single name that's the same after David. They're the same up to David, but not after.
Who were they after that?
After David, in Matthew, Solomon's line comes, and all his sons. And in Luke, after David comes Nathan, and all the fathers that were after him.
Well, since we're bringing that up, I want to go back to in the beginning.
Good place.
You've heard of the Urantia.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read it?
I haven't read the whole thing. I read parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was smacking of the line of truth that I already knew. So I said, I don't need more information about details because I have the truth already. And anybody that has read that, I can talk to them. I can listen to them. They don't need my answer if they're talking to me because they understand the truth too. So it'll be a short conversation because both of us know. They'll use different terminologies if that's all they've read. But that's not a problem to me. I don't care what words and terms you use as long as you're sticking with the truth.
So where did David and the archangel play? So that before the Bible.
The Bible is the Hebrew version of the Hebrew story of how it happened. It's their version of the truth. The truth is the same. The characters just change, names change, but it's the same story that was told in Kemet, Samaria, China, wherever you want to go. It's the same story. Same story.
Except the Urantia addresses it as before Jesus, the beginning of the time, with the archangels and David and all that. Yeah,
because they weren't talking about from the Hebrew point of view.
Right.
So why would they even mention it? I can understand that. It makes perfect sense.
Okay. I just wanted to know where it fit in so that as I'm studying this, I can line them all up right.
Well, people, it's challenging to line things up in the timeline because people don't recognize what timeline is. If you're reading the Bible, people don't even recognize that in the Bible they're talking about Atlantis when they're talking about certain other people, and because they don't believe in Atlantis, they can't put it in. It won't fit in the timeline.
Okay.
And the same thing with the book you're talking about. If you don't know what the timelines are, you won't recognize what's going on, so how can you understand? Even though it's right there in front of us. And that's how things are. That's how the ancients hid things in plain sight, so the masses wouldn't understand it. But they don't keep it from you. They know that you'll keep it from yourself, which is what I shared with y'all the week when I told you about the wizard's first rule, that people are just stupid. And that's not, denigrating them, that's just an observation. That's where we live. All of us. Woo! Yes! Are we having fun yet? I'm having a grand old time. This has been a wonderful two and a half days. It's like I've had the same conversation from 3 different perspectives, from 3 women from 3 different persuasions, and y'all all met at the same place. I said, wow.
Oh, they were in here too?
They weren't in. They were not in here physically, but the conversation was. Woo. And the material that they used wasn't the Urantia or the Bible. They were talking. One of them was talking about her personal life, but it fit perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was talking about the life of her children, and it fit perfect. It was like,
Wow.
wow, that's what I said. Mm.
That is awesome.
I said, I'm highly favored. There's no question about that. If they shared that wonderful information, woo, woo. Yeah. I'm going to keep playing that song, whether people like it or not.
Get a home phone, leave her cell phones alone. Like when my thoughts are interrupted. I did, I hit it.
You underestimate your power again. She said, how did I do that? I said, you never saw yourself. I see you in all your splendor and power. And you saying, what the heck are you talking about? And the angels are singing hallelujah all around you. Talk about music.
Well, in actuality, I do see it, and which as I said earlier, I'm getting better. But that human part of me said that was work. That's taking on a lot of responsibility.
So who's going to do it? I hear bells.
Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong.
That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you. They told you.
That's
ding dong.
That's what I'm talking about.
Ding dong.
That's what I'm talking about.
So I mean, I've done my job, you know. Yeah.
All the way to the end. You get right to the threshold. I want you to go across the threshold. Don't stop at the doorstep.
Oh, that's your job.
I've done my job. I'm over the threshold. That's how I see you. I couldn't see you if I stayed on my side of the threshold. The door would be closed, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Well, like the phone just said, ding dong, ding dong. Let me go back into my room in the corner in the dark, please. Let me go back.
Listen, didn't Riri and Ray Charles made a song about in the dark?
That's right. Let me go back to the dark.
Back to the night.
Where it's so cool over there. It's wonderful. Let's see well in the dark.
Okay. That's right. Mm-hmm. Deep subject. How far do you want to go down the rabbit hole?
You know, eventually.
Eventually is always now.
That's why I stay up on that hill, you know, looking down. I'm gonna get there. I'm closer than I was, you know, a month ago. So.
Have you ever heard of that mathematical equation where the person is on the way to the door, and every step they take is half a step of what they took before? So they are continually getting closer, but they will never get to the door.
Oh, shut up. Yes.
I was just saying the math part. Math works sometimes. Hallelujah.
It does work. I'm going to get to the door.
So you tell me, sister. Please ring the bell. Now.
Ding dong.